Welcome to Sausage on a Fork, a podcast dedicated to the UK's longest running children's drama programme, Grange Hill. My name's Neil, and in each episode I'll interview a former cast member about their life before, during and after their time on the programme. Okay, so welcome to the next episode of Sausage on a Fork, and I'm very delighted to say that I've been joined by Darren Cudjoe-Cole, who played Clarke Trent. Darren, welcome to Sausage on a Fork.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Oh, brilliant. Really great to talk to you. Okay, Darren, what we'll do is we'll start this episode the way we start every episode. And if we'll go right back to the beginning for you, and if you can tell us how you got into acting.
Well, so I've always been a performer from when I was a child. When I was 5, 6, I was always the sort of the party dancer, the body popper, the break dancer, the singer, right. The dancer, whatever. So yeah, my parents just decided to send me to a stage school. So I went to the Barbara Speaks stage school from the age of around 10 to 16. And obviously that's where I got the most active work in that environment there. So it was like an agency and a school together.
Okay, and before you were on Grange Hill, did you get to do much work? Did you get much work from the agency there?
Yeah, I mean, Grange Hill was really the last major thing that I did before leaving school. Yeah, so there was a long period of maybe 4 years of constantly working, and Grange Hill, from the age of around 11 to maybe 10 to about 13, 14. So, it was just constant work. And then obviously Grange Hill came. Yeah. And that was obviously for a child, it was the pinnacle of shows. Yeah. It was, alongside probably Biker Grove and those programs there, they were probably the biggest children's program on TV. So if you managed to get that gig, you've done pretty well. Yeah.
So did you get to work with anyone famous before you were on any big names or anything like that before Grange Hill?
I did Noel Edmonds' Late Breakfast Show. Right. That was one of the first things I did, interviewing Bruce Squibbler. Right, so that's that was actually one of the first things I've done. I've done The Bill. I've worked with Uma Thurman in a children's series called The Album. And that sort of ran for a couple of series.
I need to insert a small apology here. Since this interview was recorded, Darren has contacted me to tell me it was Una Stubbs and not Uma Thurman that he was in the album with. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Did another children's program called Tricky Business, which was like a magic show. Adverts and voiceovers, but no one that really stands out, really, to be honest.
Right. Okay. So, how did you get the part then of Clarke in Grange Hill?
Well, it was a strange one. I was at school, and I think my school had photos of everybody in the school. So I guess when directors came, if they had an idea or an image of someone that they wanted before they auditioned, they would obviously be able to see them, have a look at them. And I remember I got called down to an audition. Auditions were very random. That day you'd be working in class and next thing your name would come on the tannoy or you were asked to go to whatever room and audition. So I remember at the time, I'd actually broken both my wrists, and I had plaster cast on both my wrists. Wow. So I've gone into the audition with my plaster casts, and I was asked to read the script, and I read the script, and within a couple of days, I got the job.
Right, brilliant. Because you joined with a new year group, and that at the time it hadn't happened for a few years. So that year group had quite a heavy focus in those first few episodes. So there was the likes of yourself, Paul Paris, who played Matthew, and Sean Maguire, Rachel Victoria Robert, and then of course there was Sonia Cairns and Lynn Radford as well. Did you know any of them? Did you know any of them before you were on?
No, not prior to Grange Hill. No, right. No.
Okay. And what was it like joining the program?
It was amazing. I think you appreciate it when you leave later on in life. At the time when you're a kid, you're just a little kid running around, having fun, acting, having fun, laughing, joking. A lot of laughs and a lot of jokes, I remember. And yeah, I mean, generally it was a lot of fun. I can't say anything other than that.
Right, okay.
Still work, obviously. You have to be professional and work. Yeah. You can't be turning up and not knowing your lines and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the only real aspect that you had to focus on when it came down to showtime. You have to deliver.
Yeah.
Not be taking too many takes.
And were you a fan of the program?
Massive fan.
Right.
Yeah. All my mates were.
So what was it like when you got there and you see him and you're there with the likes of Ziggy and Robbie and all those people who you've been growing up with?
Yeah, I mean, it was great because those guys, from what I remember, were very welcoming, and they made the younger guys feel at ease, and they'll help you if you needed help. And again, a lot of laughs and jokes from the elder lot I remember in particular. So yeah, it was a good vibe, lots of banter, lots of fun.
Brilliant,
good vibe, yeah.
And so, who were you like closest to, like best friends with, if you like?
It's weird because I mean I knew a lot of the extras as well.
Oh, right, okay.
A lot of the extras were from my school and other schools that I worked with them before on other jobs. So I knew I was friendly with so many people there, and people will tell you they'll remember me being here, there, and everywhere. Obviously, I spent a lot of time with Matthew, the character Matthew, because obviously we had a lot of dialogue together. So we spent a lot of time together, probably the most time together, just out of having to work together. But he was a good guy as well. So yeah, Sean McGuire, we spent a lot of time as well. Robbie. Robbie, yeah, I remember he was a funny guy. Ziggy, he was funny as well. Gonch, all these guys were funny, man. And like I said, they helped the young ones along quite well, so that was good.
So when you're there, did you have any idea how big Sean McGuire's career would go? Was it obvious to you as a kid that he had that something about him? Like,
I think it was actually because I remember him he was a good actor and he was very natural and very, very on point with his delivery. So it didn't overly surprise me, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. And was there anyone that you particularly enjoyed working with?
Not really. No, I can't really say there was one person. No, not really.
Yeah, but you were also there with Anna Quayle was there at the time, Mrs. Munro. Like, and she, I just think for a young kid to get to work with Anna Quayle, who'd done the likes of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and A Hard Day's Night, and she'd done all this thing, and I just think. And there she is turning up on Grange Hill, and I just thought that must have been amazing to work with the likes of her and Michael Sheard as well, Mr. Bronson and people like that. Like,
Miss McCarthy, I mean, again, those guys were just they just had a way to make you feel very comfortable.
Yeah,
very comfortable whenever you were working scenes with them. So yeah, it was a bit weird. Miss McCuskey was like, really your headmaster, like really your headmistress, like. On and off screen, it's like you couldn't get that image out of your head.
Yeah,
that's what she was. So I guess that's a reflection on how well she played the part.
Yeah. I mean, it's good as well. People always said, the relationship between the kids and the adults was always really good. As well. The adults treated the kids on the same sort of level, and I think. When I was speaking to Gwyneth Powell, who played Miss McCluskey, she said some of the acting from the kids was unbelievable. Anyway, like she was saying that, like, so you started in 1988, and as we've said there, you joined as a new year group, and there was quite a heavy focus on it. What I liked about that year group was that there was a little bit of backstory. In the fact that it was mentioned a couple of times that some of the kids knew each other from primary school. Obviously, the likes of Tegs, played by Sean, was a bit of a rascal, shall we say? Like, but Clarke knew him from his previous school and said he was an all right kid, but he probably wouldn't. He probably wouldn't trust him. Now, the thing, obviously, about Clarke, the main thing about Clarke's character was his name. He stood out for being called Clarke Trent. And we find out that in his old school, he used to get called Crypto and Superman and stuff like that. Because he was one of four brothers. and his mum and dad had taken turns to call him, and he always hated the fact that he had two brothers called Tony and Jack. But then there was also Mervyn and Clarke.
Wow, you really taking me back now.
Yeah, well, I'm open to spark some memories here, Darren. I have to say, like,
yeah,
and Clarke was friends with Matthew and Segs, and the thing I always liked the relationship, the friendship between Clarke and Matthew, because obviously Matthew had his own problems going on.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you watch those episodes, there's always scenes where there's other lads saying to Clarke, "Oh, do you want to walk home with us, or do you want to come and do this with us?" And Clarke wanted to be Matthew's friend. I think he wanted to look out for him, like, because in that episode, in those episodes in that series, became aware that Matthew had this, like, was supposed to have this extravagant lifestyle, and he was from a well-to-do family. But
yeah,
as he started talking and telling things, I think Clarke started thinking that Matthew's stories didn't always match up with what he'd said.
Yeah.
And then, spoiler alert, it became apparent that Matthew's dad had become a bit of a drunk and was always abusing him. Like, but Clarke was always there looking out for Matthew, and that was one of the, as I say, I always liked that about Clarke. Like, and one of the things was that Clarke caught Matthew making himself sick. As a child actor, do you find that, like, that to be like a big burden, or are you just, when you get a storyline like that, or are you just playing it out the way you're told to? Like,
I think one thing, even at that age, that you were aware of about Grange Hill, and it's for me, this is the reason why Grange Hill was so successful. Grange Hill was probably one of the only programs on TV or children's programs that were actually dealing with real life issues.
Yeah.
So, as you know, you were aware that Grange Hill was about that. So they would all, obviously, in this instance, they're tackling abuse, which was, you know, which is and was a serious issue. So you were aware of, even at that age, of the strength of what you were actually playing. Yeah. So I wouldn't say something that overbeared you at all, but you were definitely aware that the dialogue and what's actually happening is a serious issue that's being addressed through acting.
Yeah, definitely. And then with that storyline came a little bit more of Clarke's backstory, is that Clarke had actually lived in a foster home as well when his mum hadn't been well at some point, so he'd gone to live in a foster home as well. So we had that to relate to with Matthew, and like I say, it was always that nice relationship. I think Clarke always wanted to look out for Matthew and wants to make sure he was all right. And like I say, that's one of the reasons why I like that about Matthew, because that year about Clarke, because that year group, it was split into like 3 double acts, if you like. So there was Justine and Tegs, there was Chrissy and Susie, and then there was Clarke and Matthew. Like, and I thought it was very cleverly done, the way they done that, rather than have them all sort of mixing at once. So that was your first series, 1988, and then series 12, 1989, and there was one thing in particular, one storyline in particular in series 12 for Clarke that just seemed to run, which was Clarke's bike getting nicked.
I'm still talking about that bike. And the dog. That's all I've got for the last 30 years. Where's the bike, mate? Where's the dog?
Because it was a weird one. I always thought, because that was a thing of a classic Grange Hill thing where, right, something's happened to us, but we're not going to go to police. We're going to deal with this in our own way, and we're going to make sure. And when I was researching for this, that bike storyline, it was like a precursor to 24, right? Because the bike gets nicked, you get the bike back, and then the bike gets nicked again.
I love that bike. I can see it now. It was a red and white BMX, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I love that bike. Yeah,
it was. Yeah. Now, you've mentioned there the dog. What was it like? What was the dog like?
Do you know what? It's funny because I mean I love animals, and I've always loved dogs and cats.
Yeah.
But that was a big dog. And yeah, I remember it was actually, the dog was actually fine, to be fair. Fine. Yeah. I don't remember any snarling or any funny looks or anything like that. The dog was actually fine. I was very, very comfortable around that dog. So yeah, I guess, I mean, dogs are actors as well, actors and actresses as well, in terms of they're trained to behave in a certain way in a certain environment. So yeah, but it was a bit nervy because obviously the dog had to chase me. So that's you're not sure if the dog's going to be playing or if he's going to be really trying to chase me. Yeah. So yeah, that's the only part that was a little bit daunting. But apart from that, the dog was fine.
Yeah, because I always ask people what their favourite storylines and episodes and stuff were. That bike storyline just sort of ended with a bit of a whimper, to be honest.
Yeah.
He just went and sucked the bike from the lads, and there was no
without any resistance.
Yeah, no fight, no argument from him. So anyway, so then that was sort of your end of the end of your time on Grange Hill, and you'd only done sort of 2 years. What was the reason behind Darren Cudjoe-Cole leaving Grange Hill?
I think from what I can remember, approaching my GCSEs at school, and I mentioned to you that I was constantly working from the age of about 10, 11, right up to Grange Hill, which was the last major thing that I did before I left school. And I remember literally never being at school. And that would have been the same for a lot of the people on Grange Hill. What we used to have was tutors that used to come to the BBC and we'd bring our work there. And that never worked for me, really. So because every time I went back to school, I was constantly playing catch up. And it was ridiculous. I was having to catch up on every single subject. And I remember saying to my parents, the GCSEs are coming. I remember how much of a pressure that was. GCSEs was like a main thing. You have to focus, you have to put time in. And I remember having that conversation with my parents. And then obviously I believe that was relayed back. And the dialogue between them, I'm not entirely sure what it was. But yeah, that's sort of how it dissolved.
Ah, right, okay. Another typical Grange Hill thing. Clarke was never mentioned again either. It was like it was like he'd never existed.
Never existed. Yeah.
Okay.
That's nice, that, isn't it?
So
charming, yeah.
So what sort of things did you do then after you left Grange Hill?
After I left Grange Hill, obviously I left school, went to college. Pissed around in college, excuse the language, as you do, just trying to find yourself at 16, 17, 18, those kind of ages. And then met my wife of the last 22 years, wow. Actually 25 years, what am I talking about? I'll get a slap for that.
Hopefully
yeah. Had kids, I became a father quite early, 19, 20 years old. I've got 2 beautiful kids now. But I think, becoming a father really so young, really put me in a different space in terms of what the priority was. Always been involved in music. Currently own a production company now. So it's a multimedia company. Yeah, and that kind of stems way back from then. So that's been sort of growing nicely over the years. And now we're sort of ready to put our own productions on, theatre projects and short films and documentaries, etc. So that's
brilliant.
That's kind of been me.
Yeah. So did you, like you've just said there about your priorities changing, did you sort of say, right, okay, I'm going to leave acting behind then? Is that?
Yeah, because it was a situation where the acting world is never guaranteed.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, when you become a father, your priorities change. You start thinking about your bread and butter. You start thinking about the future of your kids.
Yeah.
So it was really, really, my passion was always in the music.
Right.
Acting was just something that I could do.
Yeah.
And still can. So it was all, my heart was really always in the music. So it wasn't a major decision for me to make at the time. My priority at the time was providing for my family.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, then so the production company you've got going on now, how long have you had that one then?
Quite some time. sort of in the last sort of 5-10 years, I would say in particular, sort of started really to harness what it was we actually wanted to offer. Right. So I say multimedia production company because obviously we do music production, we mix, we master, we do sound design for film and television. And music videos, and now we're branching onto theatre projects and trying to put theatre projects together as short films and documentaries, etc. So it's sort of everything that I've learned over the last 20-25 years combined into one.
Brilliant. Oh no, that's cool. So then just stepping away from that a little bit, before we started the interview, me and you were having a little bit of a chat about football, and I'm sorry to bore anyone that's not into football, but I need to know how this has happened, because those of you that have listened to a couple before will know that I'm a huge Everton supporter. And Darren dropped a massive bombshell before this interview started on me. I nearly never went ahead with it. Darren told me that he is in fact a Liverpool supporter.
Great.
And like
you nearly put the phone down. Yeah. You nearly put the phone down, didn't you?
So and you said there's a bit of a story connected into how that happened. Yeah. So can you tell us how that happened then?
Yeah, pleasure. So the first ever job I got at Barber Speaks was for the Noel Edmonds Late Breakfast Show.
Right.
And for anyone that remembers that show, they used to do a section on there called the Hit Squad.
Right.
And the Hit Squad is when people used to play pranks on famous people, right? So you'd have somebody just interviewing or just playing some kind of a prank. Right. So initially I was meant to be interviewing a Chelsea player. Right. And at the last minute, they said, we can't get Chelsea. We can get Liverpool, though. And I was like, I was a Liverpool fan prior to that. But I was like, 11 years old. So anyway, I had to interview Bruce Grobbelaar.
Right, okay.
And basically what it was that the prank was I had to interview him and I had to keep interrupting him and say, Bruce, you got a bit of shine on your makeup. Can you sort Bruce out, please? Bruce, sort it out, mate. So I had to keep interrupting him whilst I was interviewing him. And then obviously in the end you get, it builds up to such an extent where he's thinking he wants to probably strangle me. And then obviously Noel Edmonds comes running in and, it's you being hit by the Hit Squad. So that's the backstory behind that, because after that, we got to mingle with the likes of Ian Rush, John Barnes, Peter Beardsley. It was great Craig Johnston, Jan Moby. It was that era who were obviously winners at the time. So got tickets to Liverpool QPR after that. Was in the changing room before the game with the players. That was amazing at Loftus Road, and that's my local team actually. QPR. So that was great. The only downside about that story, and I think about this to this day, and I've spoken about this to my mates the other day in terms of what I should do. At the end, Bruce Grobbelaar came up to me and my mum, and he said, look, Darren, on behalf of Liverpool, we want to give you this golden balls. He said, the problem is only a few people have signed it. I think Ian Rush and Jan Moby signed it, but he said, not everybody signed it. So he said, if you want, I'll get everybody to sign it and then I'll send it to you. I never saw it again.
Oh, no way.
And to this day, it bugs me. I can't, especially as a Liverpool fan, as someone who I love Grobbelaar, I love Liverpool. And I think, should I pick up the phone and tell my story so I can get a free season ticket? But generally, I really want the ball.
No way.
I never saw it again. I don't know what happened. I don't know whether it was Royal Mail playing games or it went to the wrong. Somebody's got a signed ball.
Okay. Are you still in touch with anyone from the programme?
No, not really. No, right. I can't say I am. Yeah, no, not really. I think a few on Facebook, but I don't really do Facebook too tough. But I know there's a few people on there knocking around. Yeah, a few messages and that. But like I said, Facebook is for me is too saturated. I can't do it. It gives me a headache.
Right. Okay. All right. So we are nearly sort of at the end of the interview. Just before we do that, you've mentioned your multimedia company and your music and stuff like that. can you just tell us what they're called for anyone who's listening, so anyone can have a listen and stuff?
Yeah. So the production company is Global Distortion Records.
Cool.
I go under the artist name Crusader, which is CRUSADA.
Brilliant.
And as a producer, I go under the name Black Falcon. So I'm many aliases.
Right, okay.
You see, the accent hasn't really left me there. Yeah, so that's kind of what we operate under. And yeah, we've been putting out good music for some time now, predominantly hip hop music / R&B. But like I said, the project that's imminent now, that is taking up the most time and creative energy is this theatre project, which is basically a combination of musical hip hop with acting, dialogue, narration, and rap.
Right.
So Brilliant. It's trying to combine all these elements and trying to tell a murder story in the 1970s. So it's a challenge.
Cool. Yeah. No. Brilliant. Okay then. So there's a few questions that I've got. I always sort of end the interview with, and they're all Grange Hill related.
Oh no.
Okay. It's not a quiz. It's not a quiz.
You know, asking what kind of socks I was wearing on that series, are you?
No, that's it. I'll save that for another time. But just recently, in the last few months, there's been talk of a Grange Hill movie being made. Phil Redmond's on board, and it's being written and stuff like that. If you were asked, would we see a return of Clarke Trent?
100%. Why not?
Brilliant.
100%. If you're listening, Phil, remember me. Remember that smile. Yeah, no, for sure. I would definitely. Why not? Why wouldn't I?
Excellent. Okay. So then, other than Clarke Trent, who is your favourite character in Grange Hill?
I think Gonch.
Yeah.
I could relate to him. He was a wheeler in dealer.
Bit of a schemer, yeah.
Well, coming from the council estate, we could relate to Gonch.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. So then, is there another character? If you couldn't have played Clarke Trent, is there another character you would have liked to have played?
Oh, played. I forgot his name. Tall guy that was always with Gonch. It's a funny guy as well.
So Trevor Cleaver.
That's my guy. That's my guy. Funny guy. Very, very funny guy.
Yeah.
Never serious on set, I remember. Never serious. Good guy from what I can remember, yeah. I think him. I think he had a good character.
Excellent.
Bit strange but weird character. But funny at the same time, yeah. He had these funny one-liners, I remember.
Brilliant. Okay, then. So then, my last question, and you've sort of touched on it already. Why do you think there's still such affection for Grange Hill? Why do you think people are still talking about it?
Because I think it was a one of a kind at the time. It was a one of a kind, and it was very similar to EastEnders. Maybe not so much now, but EastEnders even 10, 15 years ago had a cult following because it did kind of reflect realism at the time. I think when something's relatable, it tends to stick with you a lot longer, and especially when something's relatable when you're a child, you always go back to your childhood, don't you? And you remember things there's certain things you remember from your childhood and certain things that you don't. But programs like the A-Team and Grange Hill, these are programs that everybody was watching.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah. The one word I seem to use quite a lot when I talk about Grange Hill is groundbreaking, because it was, for a kids' TV program to deal with the issues that it dealt with. Yeah,
head on as well.
Definitely. All right. Well, listen, Darren, thank you so much for coming on. This is probably, we've had the most technical issues that I've ever had in any of the interviews today. So thank you for sticking with me as well.
No problem.
But it's been great talking to you and listening to your stories. Like, it's been tremendous.
Good. Nice one. Well, happy to help you, mate. No problem.
Brilliant. And for anyone who's listening, I'll speak to you next time. Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.